bad user experience examples that work in the real world, driving sales and newsletter signups and making money. I'm going to take you through 5 things that I absolutely hate when it comes to user experience on websites, but seems to work and it's being implemented by big companies left, right, and center. My name is Adrian, and if you haven't already, hit like and hit subscribe because it lets me know what kind of content you guys want. Let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that absolutely bugs me when I go to a website is when I can't even view it because they need my email address or my mobile number, or for me to share their article on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and everything else. It's something that's not necessary because it feels like it's limiting me from actually viewing what I want to do. And usually for me, I just click away from those types of articles. But I do know that a vast majority of people who are looking for a cooking recipe, or maybe they want to go to the gym and check out a different workout, they'll put in their email address for that sign up and access that information. For me, it annoys the hell out of me, but it seems to be working, and this is a way that people are driving sales and getting newsletter signups. And for me, I've gotten to the point now where I have special email addresses called spam.gmail.com or something like that, that I just literally use to only use for signing up to these email newsletter signups that require me to access a website. You've got really big companies like medium.com, which are a great resource because people love writing in there, but they don't let you view more than 15 articles now without signing up. And it gets quite annoying because I love reading different articles on there, and yet now there's a barrier to entry. So it just means that as soon as I hit that quota, I'm off there. You've got other businesses as well, like news organizations, that also want you to do the same thing. And for me, it's unnecessary. It feels like it's breaking that user experience of just accessing a website. It shouldn't be something that has a barrier to entry, but it's definitely working for these companies and it's annoying the hell out of me. Another bad UX experience I always seem to fall into is having to remove your ad blocker when visiting a website. It's something that I've noticed the culprit being mostly news organizations that do this. They seem to love expecting you to just fill up the entire web screen with as many ads as possible. I've gone to news websites that I've got ads on the top, the bottom, the left, the right. I've got a video playing and it's hovering with my screen, and it's insane. I don't want all that when I'm reading a news story. And yet I'm not even allowed to view the web page without disabling my ad blocker. I also know that there are other bad things with this. Obviously, you might be able to catch a virus if you are allowing all ads, because some of them are a little bit malicious, and that's something I don't want to do. And yet, I know that this works. I know people simply disable their ad blocker on certain domains because they want to visit it. And that means that obviously the company is making money by employing these tactics. And yet, I really hate that user experience. I think it's something that people don't really enjoy doing, yet it definitely seems to work. There's a website in Australia that I love visiting for the latest news and current affairs of what's going on. And yet, take a look at the difference between the version with ads and without ads. It's ridiculous. One is very enjoyable to use, and yet the other one just feels like you're being overloaded and you almost lose track of what you're doing. And then you have websites like Forbes, which ask you, do you want to sign up with your email address or do you want to go for some ads? And personally, I don't want either. And yet, it's a really popular site with lots and lots of good articles on there, and people are encouraged to sign up or block their ads, and it's a model that's working for them, so they still continue to use it. Personally, for me, this user experience of being blocked on a page from even being able to access it has gotten to the point where I no longer click on Forbes articles. But I also understand that most people are probably just disabling their ad blocker on that website, and Forbes is definitely making some revenue by implementing these practices. So you have to ask yourself, is this something worth doing? Would you do this? I personally don't think I would, but again, I'm not running a gigantic website, and when you have a big company like Forbes or Amazon or eBay, you can start applying this because people don't really have a choice. If they want to access really good content, they're going to have to comply with the requirements that Forbes puts on you. And in this case, it doesn't seem like giving away your email address is such a big deal. And then there are those websites that ask to send you push notifications as soon as you visit them. You don't even know what the website's for, or if you enjoy the content. You haven't even read through anything. And yet Google's straight away prompting you, hey, this website wants to send you push notifications. Do you want some push notifications? Hey, would you like some push notifications? For me, that's quite annoying. I don't want to hear about that unless I manually or perform some user action to request it. And I think the fact that Google allows you to automatically require a push notification as soon as you visit a website is probably a bad user experience. But at the same time, I can understand how this works really well, because for a lot of people, they just hit yes or no, and it probably doesn't even matter to them. And I can see a lot of people hitting yes. So this would lead to more email generated push notifications, or even just push notifications through Google Chrome. And it definitely works. And I've personally implemented quite a lot of push notifications on apps and websites. And usually the good ones are the ones where they only happen rarely, like once every month or so, when there's something exciting to be said. Otherwise, if you're just doing push notifications and you're already requesting them as soon as I visit the website, I'm going to assume that you're going to start emailing me probably multiple times a day, and it's going to go to the point where I'm going to try and hit unsubscribe on your emails, and nothing's going to even happen. If anything, it'll start sending me up to more newsletters, and that's something I really want to avoid. Now, if you work in graphics design or UI, you'll definitely understand this next user experience item, which I absolutely do not like. It's when they ask you to download an image or a logo or an icon, but before you do it, you need to Twitter out their details. You need to share and subscribe on their page, or maybe like their post, and then you can download your icon. Now, while it might be okay to do that, and you'll definitely have people doing that, it really annoys me. It makes me feel like I need to have a fake Facebook page just to download a couple of icons. And while I might do that, I can see other people just using in their own Facebook details. Now, I'm not really a particular fan of that kind of a user experience where you're twittering out publicly what you're doing privately for maybe work purposes, or, even your own project. You might not want other people to know that you're doing this or that. So I don't like that user experience. At the same time, I can see that by doing so, it's growing the company who are applying these practices. They're getting more publicity, and by doing so, more people are visiting their website. And I think it's one of those things that if you do apply, it's really annoying, but it really works. And then there's the user experience of countdowns. Now, what's that mean? Well, say you've got a store, maybe running and selling some products, and a user visits your store. Now, the user experience is they've got a limited time to purchase a certain product. And as that counter goes down, and if it hits 0, the price will go up. It's a user experience that makes me feel a little bit pressured, and I don't enjoy that. It's one of those ones that I think works because people end up clicking on the item and purchasing it before the timer counts down. Now, one of the places that I notice really loves to implement this is places where you're booking flights. Now, I understand that booking flights is one of those things that you only have a time limit to do, but I don't think the time limit should be something like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And while I think that's okay for websites like eBay, where you've got bidding and the price is changing constantly, when you're doing things like purchasing a flight from one destination to another, you don't want to feel that pressure of having only 10 to 20 minutes to book a flight for maybe your entire family to go to so many places, and you don't know if your flight is even guaranteed at that time period. And these time limits are getting smaller and smaller. When you're booking a flight, you really need to plan it out. And you need to make sure that if you're going in a large group of people, everyone's on board and they've got the same flight. And yet, they seem to be the companies that are applying this tactic in user experience the most, and the time limits are ridiculous for them. How can you only have 10 to 20 minutes to book a flight? Otherwise, the price will not be verified anymore. I think that they could probably apply a little bit better standards for that, because personally I don't want to feel that pressure of having to book a flight in that time period in order to guarantee the price I'm getting. But at the same time, I can see that it works for them. They're probably getting lots of sales by making sure that people buy the flights before that timer counts down. And internationally, if it's currently being used by the majority of flight centers, there must be a reason for that. And that is because this user experience is working for them, and they're definitely getting more people buying within that time period. So I hope this gives you a good idea of some of the things that I find terrible in terms of user experience, but very effective in making sure that they get more leads, more business, and more sales. What are some of the things that you've seen that might be a terrible user experience, but probably is very effective at making money? I hope you like this kind of content, and if you want to see more like it, hit like and hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.